Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Wilson, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority.
8:37 on WMAL. Brian Neiman, Mary Catherine Ham here in D.C. Brian Wilson is down in Florida, where it was a big victory for Mitt Romney last night. Pleased to be joined now by Ken Cuccinelli, the Attorney General of the Commonwealth of Virginia. Mr. Cuccinelli, good to have you on again.
Good morning.
Last time you were on, it caused quite a firestorm, a media firestorm. Went back and forth. You were talking about your concern over the Wildlife Protection Act that was passed by the D.C. Council in 2010 and whether or not rats, because we know that there are rats at the Occupy protest downtown, whether or not those rats were going to be pushed over into Virginia, because there was some concern about whether or not people could actually collect them and kill them. And you said that there's possible that these families were not allowed to be broken up. Some D.C. officials said no, that wasn't true. It was back and forth. But now I hear that there is going to be a rat summit with members of D.C., Virginia, and Maryland coming up. What can you tell us about that?
Well, first of all, it's important for people to know that for 10 months we've been trying to get D.C. to talk to us, meaning our public health people talking to their public health folks, about the implications of the implementation of this law. We have a very serious Lyme disease problem in Northern Virginia, and we have a nearly as serious rabies problem in Northern Virginia. And those diseases are carried by all these varmints. And now I will clarify, while we had a lot of fun with the rats and the Occupy folks and so forth, most of the rats, as I understand it, that show up in D.C. are killable. I'm not sure how you know the difference when you set a trap. Nonetheless, that is the case even under the law. But for raccoons, for all the other nasty rodents that carry these diseases, it is absolutely the case that they I don't know how they phrased it, they prioritize keeping these families together, rodent families, raccoon families, and so forth, and that you can't kill them. I mean, their first preference is releasing on site. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Two, they have, and I don't know what an animal rehabber is, but except by description. But that's the next priority, is drop-off sites, which to our understanding don't even exist in D.C. Again, you get to your Virginia problem, so then where do you drop them off?
Well, is there any evidence that has actually taken place, or that there are plans for that?
They are still, I mean, one of the beneficial things of this firestorm is, because they started finally bleepity-bleeping talking to us,
right,
is that they're still implementing it. They have not fully implemented this thing yet, so in theory we shouldn't have pest control people dropping their nasty varmints in Northern Virginia yet.
Mr. Attorney General,
they've clearly acknowledged that this could be a problem.
Mr. Attorney General, it seems to me if you're a guy who kills rodents or collects or captures rodents for a living, and you want to go out and set some traps, and you know that there are some rodents that I can legally catch and kill, and there are some rodents that I can't legally catch and kill, I'm not going to put out the traps for fear that I might get one of those protected species.
Well,
so effectively, doesn't this shut down? Doesn't that effectively shut down the ability to go after rats and mice in the district?
Or it multiplies the cost. The pest control people tell us that the cost goes up like 10 times. If you're going to actually go after these critters and be careful not to break the law, our concern is that people won't be careful not to break the law. They'll take things into their own hands, and a multi-jurisdictional, a Virginia, Maryland, D.C. pest control person licensed in all three, who happens to be based in Virginia or has another job in Virginia, will just suddenly lose their raccoon or their nasty varmint.
Hey, I think, frankly, there should be a sensitivity clause about not calling them varmints or critters. We want to be as careful as possible.
Mary Catherine, in terms of sensitivity, we're using the word rodent, and I'm sitting here thinking, I wonder if rodent has a particular scientific meaning. I don't actually know. I'm using it sort of euphemistically. But it is unbelievable. There are people who come to the defense of these, frankly, nasty varmints, Sorry, Mary Catherine. But
it's okay. I'll let it pass.
Thank you. But they do, and it really is a triumph of animal rights over human health, and we need to prioritize human health.
All right, last question on this. Just yes or no. Will you be attending the summit, or somebody else from your office, or somebody from the governor's office?
I expect we're going to make arrangements so that more knowledgeable people in the details of these subjects, varmint control and such like and so forth, and the consequences of bringing them across state lines, which is, by the way, illegal. So the feds, we hope, will be participating as well, which is kind of interesting for me to be inviting them in. But nonetheless, they've been a very valuable provider of information for us and have a great deal of knowledge about just statistics of what's going on in the region.
All right, I know you want an amendment to the Constitution in Virginia on property rights. Can you explain exactly what you want out of this?
To get a constitutional amendment in Virginia, you've got to pass it 2 different years. We passed it last year before our state elections. Now we've got to pass it again this year. It came out of the Senate P&E committee 13-2 yesterday. Don't be fooled by that optimism. And what it will do is 4 things. It solves the kilo problem. Your listeners may remember 7 years ago, the kilo decision by the Supreme Court let a local government in Connecticut take property from little Miss Suzette Kilo, 87-year-old lady, and literally her little pink house, to give it to another private entity, that struggling corporate citizen, Pfizer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And so the question was, where's the public use? And the Supreme Court said all you need is a public purpose. And their purpose was their hope that they would get more tax revenue from Pfizer than little Miss Suzette Kilo. So we fixed that problem in the Constitution. And yes, we do have that problem in Virginia. I can rattle off examples all over the state of it. We also don't let government take any more property than necessary to achieve whatever that public use is, be it building a road or what have you. Again, more horror stories from the past in Virginia. And critically, we shift the burden of proof. Right now, if you're a board of supervisors in X county and you say, we're going to take this piece of land and we declare it to be for a public use, the courts are giving deference to that malarkey. Well, now they're going to have to prove it's a public use if they're going to impair your right to property. And it is unbelievable to me that such a fundamental right, that you would have the burden of proving that you should be able to protect that right. That's the way the law is right now. That's absurd. And last but not least, we're also finally going to compensate businesses, typically small businesses, for loss of profits. If your business is taken and it takes you a year to move and set up shop, you'll get the lost profits for that year if you can prove what it's likely you would have earned. So those are all big changes. They protect the little guy here, and we're on the side of Patrick Henry, James Monroe, and George Mason.
Real quick, Mr. Attorney General.
People are